The 2015 Polyglot Gathering is brought to you by italki. Become fluent in any language.
Hi, my name is Brian, and I'm from Malaysia, and I used to be an engineer, so naturally I chose this topic. Of course. Before we begin, North America is a huge area, so we're talking about something like 300 plus languages from the area north of Mexico all the way to the very end of Canada, and from Alaska, the tip of Alaska facing the Bearings, all the way to Newfoundland. So to put this all into context, it's like comparing the Indo-European languages with the Sino-Tibetan languages with the Bantu languages, and saying that they all live next to each other. Okay, I'll show you that. Yes. So before I begin, I always like to clarify a few things. There are many misconceptions about Native Americans and their culture and their languages. So here is one of them. Now, who has heard of this before? No? Well, I have an American friend who says, "Oh yeah, but they speak Indian." Unlike Christopher Columbus, we know exactly where India is. Yes. So the truth is, North America. I just made it really long. Basically, you have almost about 280, 290, depending on the dialect, languages spoken north of Mexico, belonging to 30 language families, approximately. There are 7 major families, 7 or 8, depending on the classification, and most of them, of the others, are either unclassified, extinct, or they are language isolates, which means they're not related to any other language on Earth. So, if you don't believe me, here's the map. Right, so, as you can see, it's very colorful, yes. Who can tell me some interesting characteristics about this? These are maps of, these are the contiguous areas and discontiguous areas of various language families. Not languages, language families. Anybody notice interesting things about them? Sorry, yes?
There's two curious features I can
Yes,
see.
yes.
On the west, there's a high density of diversity.
Oh, yes.
Partially explained that by the valleys there.
Precisely.
How about the east? Because this white area,
Yes.
it's also very forested, very hilly area.
Yes, this map actually was taken from Wikipedia because I thought it was the most complete map I could find. The reason is because these areas traditionally are either uninhabited or they're undocumented, which means the languages have gone extinct before people had a chance to document them and figure out exactly who spoke what and where. We'll go to the major families. So what I'll do is, with the allocated time, I will pick certain areas, and then we can choose 1 or 2 languages from each, and I'll show you the characteristics, things like phonetics, phonology, and also the grammar, a little bit of the grammar. Okay? Starting from, north to south, you notice that some languages, that's a very good observation. Another thing is, a lot of them are spoken in discontiguous areas. So you see this language group, for example, which is called the Athabascan languages of Alaska and Canada and Western Canada. The closest relatives are not spoken here. No, they are spoken right here. Imagine that. Have you heard of the Navajo language? Apache? Okay. Yep, they're here, and their closest relatives are over here. Yes, it's like I'm saying I speak French and Italian is over here. And yes, and they are very close. Syntactically and in terms of phonology and a lot of the common vocabulary is very consistent across the Athabascan languages. But I can't say the same for the other groups. And you can see this one. There are actually 3 branches, 1, 2, and 3. There's a small outliers here as well. We'll go to each one of them, okay? We'll start from the Arctic Circle. Right, so the famous Eskimo languages. Now, does anybody know what Eskimo means? Very close. It's actually a yes and no. Actually, the word Eskimo comes from the language from one of the Algonquian tribes who live down here. It's a word for their enemy, but it's not a racist term. It means those who speak with foreign mouths or those who speak a foreign language. That's it.
Like barbaros.
Voila, there you go. Perfect. That's it. And in fact, this language group, this family was the last one to cross the land bridge from Siberia. So we go. Let's break them apart. There are actually 2 branches. The Aleut languages, which are spoken in a very small chain across to Russia, which are almost extinct. I think there are 2 dialects. And you have the Eskimo group. Now, I don't like to use the word Eskimo because it's not native. The correct word is Inuit or Inuit or Inupik or Inupik, compared to, depending on which dialect it is. So this group, there are basically two dialect groups, completely unintelligible. And one of them is called Yupik, which is spoken here, and a little bit here, and across here. So this is the only language that straddles Siberia and North America. It's spoken across. There used to be an extinct dialect here called Sireniksi that is now extinct, replaced by Russian, I'm sorry, and colonialism. And yeah. And in North America, a lot of them are endangered, being replaced by English. Yes, so the language that people call Eskimo start from here, the northern half of Alaska, all the way across Canada, Nunavut territories, up to Greenland. This is a bit of a misconception, misleading because there are actually 3 dialects spoken in Greenland. Yes, okay? And I'm not going to talk much about the culture, but these you can see they're adapted for the polar regions. They don't go, south. I mean, they really colonized the northern Arctic region, the coastal areas, and where, yes, the land of polar bears, and yes. Well. Okay, so next group, the Athapaskans, the one we're talking about. Very, very large family spread across North America, right down to Mexico. And these are the second group of migrants who arrived from Asia. I'm not going to go into a bit of the history of these languages, but they're supposed to be related to languages in Central Russia called Yeniseian, apparently. So you have them. And they're very, very widely spread. There are 3 language groups, as I said. So you have the northern group. The most famous, if you're Canadian, might be Chippewayan, if you heard of it. No? Yeah, Chippewayan, which is called the Nesochine. The Nesochine is spoken in this area. And this is the Bear Lake languages. And these are all related. They are as close as Italian, French, Spanish, maybe things like German, Dutch, English. They exist in a continuum from one language to another. And then you have, this is Sarsi. This is an extinct language called Nicola. And the Navajos live down here. So can anybody tell me where the Navajo reservation is?
Arizona.
Bravo, yes. So this, the northern half here, this is Navajo reservation. And this is the largest, the language with the largest number of speakers in North America. Okay? And we're talking something like 150 to 170,000. Yeah, but yeah. That's a lot of people speak Navajo. And the surrounding dialects are all the Apache dialects. So you have this is the Jicarilla, the Mescalero, the Chiricahuas live here, and the Western Apache dialects live here. And these are all not as well preserved as Navajo. All right, and you have, of course, this is a group called Lipan Apache, and that's Kiowa, which are Apaches who migrated to the plains and adopted plains culture. So they have the wigwams and the chiefs wear the big feathered headdresses. Yeah. So these are yeah. And of course, you have a very small group here which crossed centuries ago to settle along the Oregon, California coast. And there are not many languages that are still well preserved in this area, except maybe Hupa, but that's like less than 10 people who speak fluently, unfortunately. Yes. So 3 language groups. All right. Many of them are tonal, and unlike Chinese, they don't have contour tones. They have fixed high and low tone, and that's it. So a syllable can have high tone, low tone. In Navajo, they can be short or long. They can be nasalized, non-nasalized. So yes, a very huge phonetic inventory. Okay, so then we go to this side, which we have the Algonquin languages. It's famous because one of them, which is spoken here somewhere in Virginia, was the native language of Pocahontas. Thank you, Disney. Yes, so again, sadly, it's in Canada where most of them are more well preserved. The Cree language is spoken here, all the way across. We'll talk about that later on. And there's Ojibwe here. And here you've got languages like Cheyenne and Arapaho. Blackfoot is here, but it's mostly this area where they are more well preserved. Yes, and most of them here, Mi'kmaq, these are actually either they are going extinct, they are moribund, or the last fluent speaker is above 75. So, yes.
It doesn't show the Cherokee areas on that. Oh.
Next slide.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I know, sorry, a couple more, yeah. The Cherokee don't speak Algonquin language, they speak language from another family. Yeah, but I'm coming to that, very good. The Sioux languages, anybody studied Lakota? No? Teton, Youngton? No. Okay, well this language family again is spread across the plains. Very, very mobile because in the from the 17th to the 19th century with the introduction of the horse, they went far and wide. Yeah. Okay. So you might be wondering what these are. Again, there are many, many outliers. This is the Biloxi language, which is now extinct, which is actually from this family and not from the family, the languages around it. These are some extinct languages as well. They're called Katoban. And this one is a language called Ofo, which is also extinct. Yes, and that's, I think that's it's called Stony. Yeah, so these are some of the languages. You, as a Canadian, you'd probably be more familiar with some of the languages on this side, I guess. Okay, moving on. My favorite group, my favorite region of Canada, the West Coast, Pacific Northwest. These are two language families that are also on the verge of extinction. Yeah, extending from British Columbia and Oregon all the way down to Montana. They are famous because they have a lot of consonant sounds and very few vowels. They make Polish look like baby talk. Yes. The languages on the west coast of Vancouver, for example, have pharyngeal sounds. So the word for dog is I need. I need. It's like in Arabic an but rougher. And yes, really. And in the language of in Han Khaminam, the word for baby was a skik. Yes. Would you like to do some tongue twisters later on? Yeah, we'll work on the west coast. Yes. Okay. There is a language called Balakula, which is spoken, if you can see right here, that is famous for having words with no consonants and no nasal sounds. I think there's one that's coming up. And no vowels at all. Yeah. Coming soon. Coming soon. Be patient. Next slide. Okay, so these are the. Okay, now here's Cherokee. Okay, this group is the Iroquois, this side here. They are famous because their cultures are strictly matriarchal. Yes, which means the women are the heads of the families. Yeah, there are two. Actually, there are two branches. The Cherokee used to live here before the Trail of Tears, and then they were forced to evacuate and move to Oklahoma, thanks to the U.S. government. Yes, who pushed them off their land. The largest, the most vibrant communities are again in Canada. The Mohawk tribes live here with their various dialects. Between New York State, Ontario, and Quebec, yeah, this area is probably the most well preserved. The rest of them are, again, this is extinct. It's called, I can't remember the name of this language, it's called Tuscarora. There are probably like, 2 or 3 fluent speakers left above the age of 75. And this is extinct, and yes, all these languages here are all extinct, unfortunately. Yes, or moribund. Okay? Cherokee is famous because it's the only language that has a writing system in this area. And it was invented in between the late 18th and early 19th centuries by Sequoyah. Yes, I'm going to show you. It's very interesting, it's very creative. It's a syllabary, and if you know, if you're familiar with Japanese katakana, hiragana, it's the same, it works since that, yeah. Okay. So, any questions about this? There are other language groups as well. There are many, many languages which are only like the Zuni language is spoken here. It's surrounded by Navajo and Apache and Pueblo, but it's unrelated to any other language in North America and in the world. Okay, for example. The Kootenai language, which is spoken here, somewhere here, is surrounded by Salish and other languages, but nobody knows where or who their closest relatives are. I mean, it's, yeah, you really. So there are many, many tribes like this who speak isolated languages, which completely different structures from the neighboring tribes. And very often, in the same area, people will have similar cultures, for example, but they speak completely different languages. It's like in Northern Europe, you have Finnish and Swedish people who have similar things in common, but they can't communicate with each other unless they are forced to learn each other's languages. And it's the same thing with many of these tribal areas. There are many overlaps. You see here, this tribe is surrounded by others, and it's very interesting. Going back to the first slide with it. Okay, any questions so far on area distribution, regions? Yes, please.
Sorry, guys, if you have questions, please that microphone. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm talking a bit fast because I'm sort of rushing.
Okay. So the northern languages.
Yes.
I grew up beside the Six Nations.
That's right.
Directly beside it, and there's none of them are spoken anymore. Did you say there were more of them?
There are more of them. Many of them are. I think yeah. There are a few of them like Meskwaki and Wyandot, which are still being learned and being slowly revived, but not to the extent of Mohawk.
No, they're not. No. Okay.
No, not to the extent of Mohawk, but they are still being spoken. They are still being spoken, but not with that number of speakers.
Okay.
I don't have the exact details on the exact statistics, which language has more speakers. Yeah, but there are programs being carried on, especially in Canada.
Yeah, exactly. And also the Chiricahua
Sorry.
The Chiricahua?
Chiricahua. Yeah.
So, do they live on the Mescalero Reserve?
They share. I think the lands are sort of they share the reserve.
Okay,
but
but the languages
languages
are not related.
They are related, but they're different dialects of the
Okay.
same language group. Yeah. You could compare them with Spanish and Catalan or something. Pretty much. I mean, not dialects, but mutually intelligible to a certain extent. Yes. Yeah. Sorry about that.
Little short question, in the overlapping areas, did people communicate to each other and mix up, or were they isolated communities?
Good question. Okay. I've got two answers to that. In traditional multilingual areas like the Southwest, some tribes became interpreters. They were professional interpreters. They learned multiple languages to help with the trade from different tribes. So, for example, if I'm not mistaken, Navajo was used a lot in the Southwest, and many tribes spoke Navajo. The intermediate tribes between them and, for example, the Hopi, they would use Navajo to communicate with other tribes, and they would learn English and Spanish as well. So they became the tribal interpreters, number one. Number two, in the plains area, a very large region, this way, people use sign language. They evolved their own system of sign language that is as sophisticated as American Sign Language. I can't do it, but yes, and apparently this helped to facilitate communication in the plains areas with at least 5 or 6 different language families.
What time are you talking about?
Oh, this came.
When did that?
The period they started in the plains before colonization by Europeans. Yeah, but it's continued until maybe the 19th century, and then it slowly declined as people learned English and French English. Yeah. Maybe one more question. Yeah, could you?
Quick question.
Very good, thank you.
Very quick question. Are the Eskimo languages mutually intelligible?
Within the groups, within the different groups, for example, the Inuits, for example, from Greenland, the western coast of Greenland is mutually intelligible with, for example, the islands on eastern Canada, for example, but not across the whole area. Yeah. So it's a dialect continuum, you can say. Okay, we'll go to phonology very quickly. I'm almost out of time. Sorry. Okay, so let's forget this. Just imagine going from west to east, east to west. Oh God. All right. The languages get more complex phonologically. They have more consonant sounds. If you're a phonetician, you know that you have sounds that are velar and uvular. So the further west you go, the more sounds that sound like k and k, and k and k. There's a difference. And kwa and kwa. These are different sounds in their languages. And it's very difficult here. And the further west you go. But the further east you go, they simplify. So Mohawk has maybe 9 or 10 consonants, which are quite similar to English or French. Many of them don't have the F sound, f, v, on this side. But as you go west, they change. So I'll show you some. Use that. So this is one language that I'll talk about. And so there are 2 language writing systems that we're talking about. Number one, the Cherokee syllabary. And this one, which was invented in 1840s, 1850s by missionaries. And it was used to write, we have Cree, Ojibwe, then extended to some of the Eskimo language, Inuit languages as well. And it's a syllabary, similar to Devanagari, in which you have one character, which is a consonant and a vowel. And by adding strokes, or by turning it around left or right, you change the vowel that comes after it. So this is Nehiawewin, which means Cree. And the dialect spoken is Plains Cree. Okay? So, going back to the distribution of this dialect, where people speak it, this area. So, these are the dialects. And answering your question, as in the case of the Eskimo languages, those that are contiguous, those are the areas that are next to each other, usually have dialects that are more or less mutually intelligible. And the further west you go, or the further east, the more different they get. So this area, in fact, some of them like the Naskapi, Innu, and Montani, and this one, Atikamekw, and even James Bay Cree, are considered separate languages. They're not related, not as closely related to the languages over here. So Plains Cree is spoken in this side. It's actually a very huge area. Okay, and even within each area, there are differences in vocabulary, differences in pronunciation, not so much in syntax, but yeah, vocabulary. And yes, well, let's look at the consonants. Let's look at how this area, how they speak. So these are the only consonants they use. Not very exotic from a European or Asian point of view. You got your bilabial stops, your alveolar, your velar. Yeah, I think that's it, right? Nothing.
Line is J, not
Sorry, I wrote it as a J, yeah, but it should be a J. This is a it's a Y. It's a glide. It's a glide. My mistake. Yeah, very good. And the vowels. 3 vowels and 4 vowels. 3 of them can be long or short. Normally they use a macron. If you're not writing in Cree script, they will write it with O with either a macron or what do you call that? En français, le chapeau chinois. Circumflex. Thank you. Oui, pardon. Non, je suis pas français. Sorry. The Chinese conical hat. Yeah. So the E always appears long in this language. So it's not a symmetrical system. So the A is closer to schwa. A, O, I, and A. There's no short E. So it's not. A lot of languages don't have symmetrical systems like in European languages, for example. It's very exotic.
In many languages, when you have
Yes.
a difference in length,
Yes.
you have also a difference in quality of vowel.
Precisely.
I heard a difference in E and A, but not in O.
Exactly. The O is closer. It's not as different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's what.
Yes. So it's not a symmetrical system. So here are some words in Cree, and we'll break them. So, shall I start? The word for book, masinahikan. Okay. Now, and of course you have kichikiskino hamato awikamik, which means university. And obviously many Cree people don't go to university. I'm sorry, but did I not say it? Yeah.
You need a degree to say it.
Yes, I think so. You can see that these languages are descriptive. A lot of them, most of them are based on verbs. We'll look at how they break down later on. I'll take one example because I'm out of time. The word for book, masinahigan. Okay, notice that when I say kan with the K, it becomes sort of a G sound. That happens because the K and G are allophones. So when there's 2 vowels, flanking a consonant, it can be voiced. But this varies depending on the dialect. So masinaigan comes from the word masina, which means to carve or to make a design. The H represents a tool, so to carve with a tool. The K, the K, means an indefinite object, so to carve something with a tool. And the N, the last, the N, means a thing. So a thing which is carved with a tool, which later on began to be transcribed to writing. So yes. And let's not go to kichikiskino hamato wigamik. Yes, that's okay. So again, the same thing. All these, usually the beginnings are verbs. And the word is like mahigan. Okay, this word is a noun by itself. Mahigan meeskano. Mahigan meeskano means Wolf Road, and this is the name for the Milky Way. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So, yes. Okay. So now, so we look at this language is spoken in sort of central west area. Central east part of Canada, and it tends to have a very, very small number of consonants like the other languages around it. Let's go to the west coast. We'll go to Vancouver and look at this language, which is called Hankamitnap. So as you can see, it cannot be written in the Roman alphabet. It has to be in a modified IPA. As per Americanist tradition, they try to write one sound for one letter. So the N with the M's with this the glottal stop on top they're actually pronounced with glottalization. So it's ma, it's na, ma. And almost, but it's not for nasals. This is ejective. This is ka. If you speak Klingon, you could try it. A lot of you are saying ka with a K. It's not ka, it's ka. It's different sound. It's back. It's the same place where you in Arabic you say al qaf ka, but ejective ka. Yeah. So yes. So here, so we saw the Cree language with its 9 or 10 consonants. This is Hankamitnam. Oh yeah. Okay. So I didn't have space to write or to describe them. Okay. So the top, all these are all the unvoiced consonants, and like in English, you have aspiration. So this is go here. Ta, ta. This is an alveolar sibilant. Ta, cha, ka, ku, ka, ha. Ta. Okay. And then so again it's asymmetrical. So some sounds are missing. And then we come to this side. Anybody wants to try to pronounce them? With the microphone, please. Yes, I'd like to hear it.
Maybe I should say I have some knowledge in Caucasian language, so this is not a problem. Okay, so
Go.
probably pa.
Yes.
And this one, the next one I can't really see. T.
It's a dental. It's not a.
T.
Dental ejective. Affricate.
Yeah, dental Africa.
Got it. Perfect.
TH and then Africa.
Yeah, I hear it. He's got it. Yeah.
And then
This is alveolar, so your tongue is a little bit back.
and now my favorite.
Perfect.
And then
Perfect. Perfect.
and then
Yes, of course. Simplest sound to learn. Bravo! Bravo! Yeah.
What is the symbol of theta?
I'm sorry, it's a th. It's like in English, it's a dent. This one? Oh, it's a T and a theta together. It's a th. It's an African. It's like a TS with a th. This is th with a dental. Your tongue actually touches the front end.
This is not IPA, right?
It's no, it's not IPA. It's used for this. It was invented for this script because it didn't exist in IPA, or it doesn't exist in most languages that use IPA. Yeah, that for describe IPA. Yeah. Then the rest are quite easy, and if you speak Welsh, you know the sh sound. This is interesting. German speakers I know have problems with this because they have a h, a hua, a h, a hua, and a h. Can you make the distinction? Yeah. So the word for child is yes. The word for wolf is a stkaje. So again, yeah. So again, it makes Polish look like baby talk. Sorry, no offense to Polish people. And any questions so far from this? The rest, these are quite standard. This should be a J. It's a y. It's a glide and a w. Okay. Before I go to this one. Any questions? No? Good. Okay. So this side, okay, this is, imagine if this is a plain stop and an ejective, a nasal and a glottalized nasal. So it's a nasal pronounced with a glottal stop. It's a bit like an N when you in Danish people, when you say with the I can't pronounce this word. Okay, stir, with an N at the back, it's something like, it's a ma, na, la, ya, wa. It's a yes. And it's very common as well. And some languages have another group, a branch which is pharyngeal. Ha and ah. Okay? Yes. Some languages have them, but not this one, thank God. Okay. And the consonant, the vowels are quite simple, and they are slightly more symmetrical in that they're usually pure vowels. The u, a, e, and e. So they are closer to pure vowels, and they are less. Yeah, and there's a schwa which is normally unstressed. So okay, so all right. So any questions now? I would like to give examples, but what I decided to do, since I'm out of time, I just chose the longest example to put it at the back. Okay, and we can try to pronounce it later on. And this is Navajo, which is somewhere between the two systems. So which is somewhere between. It's the Athabascan languages. These are not, okay, in the Navajo they don't use, these are not voiced, they are unvoiced. So it's pa, ta, za, la, ja, ka. That is, it's not really voiced like in English. So the B is actually pa. The reason why they use this is because these are, like in Chinese, like in Mandarin Chinese, these are aspirated. Ta, za, kla, cha, ka. So to include the k and the k, this is ka, ka. Okay? And they also have the famous ejective sound. But in Navajo they use the apostrophe rather than the yeah, so it's okay? And the rest of it is pretty much the same. They don't have as many consonants, but yes. And also they have some, these are very marginal. They don't exist in a lot of words, but the ones, you know, and that's. So when I talk about Navajo, I said they had a lot of tones. Well, 2 tones. So there are 4 vowels in Navajo, A, E, I, O, and they appear long, okay, long, short, high tone, low tone, nasal, non-nasal. A lot of vowels, yes. So the word for face, the A in Navajo is closer, is more centralized. So it's ani, ani. Yes, they have a tendency when the Navajos end a word with a glottal stop. There is like an echo vowel after ani, and ani, which means nostril. And you have nili, which means he is, and nili, you are. And the ni can be shortened to nli when you're speaking quickly. Yeah, and ta, which means in water. Ta. The th is a bit more stronger, more velar sound than in English. Ta, and ta means tree. I'm going to talk more about this on Monday's Navajo class. So yes, okay, yes, not. But I don't have. Okay, so okay, 40. So let's talk about the Salish languages. I took away all the examples and picked the one with the longest word and the most complex phonetics. Okay, now please pronounce this word. This is in Wikipedia, by the way. Somebody put it, if you look under Bellacula or Nuchalk, it's actually in, yes. Anybody wants to try this? Sorry, yes.
What's the dot on there?
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, this is used. I got this from Wikipedia. This one, the dot, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a uvular sound. So it's a h and a h. This is there's a vowel. So okay, just go.
Okay, the same one.
Okay.
Okay.
This language, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention one detail. This language, the velar fricative is palatalized. Is a h. Yeah. That's, and then go ahead.
So,
All yours.
Okay.
Yeah. Very close. Very good. Good try, man. Good try. It's pronounced. Yes, and very close, very close. And there's no vowels. I don't know how they shout in this language. But it's not every word. A lot of words have vowels as well. It's just that this one doesn't. You know. Yeah. So this is interesting. This one is actually in Wikipedia, and it's actually from Nader, and they put it is. And you can see there's one thing you can note about it is that this language uses agglutination and polysynthetism. So you combine a lot of components that will be verbs, pronouns, verbs, nouns into a single word. And this is very common across North America. I'm going to rush through, so maybe you can see some examples later on. This is one feature which is called polysynthesis. And I have not encountered any languages in Europe and Asia that have something similar. I don't know if there are any that do this. Okay. Yes. Any questions? Just go bravo. Okay, now this is interesting. If you look at Worf and Sapir, they had a theory that some languages do not distinguish verbs and nouns. So this is from Vancouver. Anybody from Vancouver? Have you heard of the Nootka language? Nucha. Yeah. They don't have a word that means fire and to burn. They have, a specific word for fire and burn. They use the same word. So anything that burns, anything that is fire is the same thing. So, for example, I'm going to pronounce it very, very. This is ineku, which means fire or to burn. And the only way you can tell whether it's a noun or a verb is you look at the ending. You put a small ending, an I or an a. This will change depending on the what comes before it. The a is usually it's like a definite article. It's the. So if you have ineku, it means the fire. So obviously it's a fire. This is a tense particle indicating. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, something like present tense with a third person. So it, he, she, it. So if I add this at the end, it becomes like it burns. So this is fire or it burns. And like Turkish, it has a lot of suffixes that show location. The only difference is, in this language, the location is very, very, very specific. They have a suffix that says in the house, on the beach, on the mountain, on my hand. Yes, it's not only on, as in Turkish, da, but in this case, it actually shows a specific location. So if, in this case, means in the house or in a building. So this word, inequit, means in a house, a fire is in a house, or there is burning in a house. And the only way you can tell is what comes after, whether you put a noun suffix or a verb suffix. So you can change a noun into a verb and any verb into a noun. Yes. And you add on and on. So you can pluralize it with minah. Minah. The H is a h, is it in Arabic? Minah. Minah, which means fires in a house, or things are burning in the house. As a verb, yes. And so on and so forth. I'll just speed up, okay? So you can change any noun into a verb. And names of people are interesting because they don't participate in the system. When you have a name, you have to say it outside. You cannot say, I saw Peter. You say something like, I saw him, I saw a person, I saw him, and it's Peter. Something like that. Names do not participate in their discourse. It's added separately. Yes, it's interesting. So let's go to more, on the other side of the US, let's go to more. Yes. It's the roots that do not have any distinction. Then you add suffixes to, turn. So this again is whether how you define a noun and a verb. Wolf and Sapir said that yes, the roots are generic and you add suffixes to change them. Yeah, but yes. So it depends on how you look at it. I recommend you read Sapir, 1921. He did a very good research on the languages in this region. And then we'll go to Mohawk, which is also polysynthetic. And I'll show you how they break down their words. Okay, for example, this word means we will scrape the corn off the cob. And it's one word. And very quickly, this is basically the noun that means corn. This is an epiphonic vowel, it's added so you don't have too many consonants together. This is a word meaning to put. This is the word meaning to take away, to reverse, so to take off. So the put and the take off use the same one, except that to take off has a reversative suffix. And this glottal stop shows the perfective. It means that action has come to an end. Yes. Oh yeah, baby. And the prefix shows a future tense, and this shows repetitive action. And this agua, this area means we do something. It's like in French you say nous les something, nous les, we do something. That's the agua. And you combine this all together into one word. You cannot say one word. You break each syllable up, they will not understand you. You have to say the whole word. So it's not like French where je les aime. It's 3 words pronounced in one breath. It's a single word.
Sorry, exclusive means like because it's plural, so like in Quechua.
My next point, yes, exactly. There's like Quechua, like Bahasa Malaysia, Indonesia. There's a distinction between we and you, and we, 我们咱们 in Mandarin as well. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll go to one more example, which is from a different language.
Pronounce it.
Sorry? I can't pronounce it because I don't speak this language, but I do speak the next one, so let's. Sorry, I'm sorry. This is Navajo with all the tones and the nasals and the long vowels, yes. So this is Daak Enahi Nil Cha. Daak Enahi Nil Cha, which means actually the two of us, we two, ran back out into the field. And again, it's one word, yes. So in this case, the structure is completely different. Whereas Mohawk uses prefixes and suffixes, Navajo uses exclusively prefixes. So it's a different syntax altogether. The root is here, cha, which means two people are running. Yes. This syllable means two people are running. Two people are running, yes. And it comes from this means, it's actually a verb that means to escape. This is a transitive, the L makes it transitive, which means to make somebody escape, hence, and then to flee. And then this one means each other. So the two of us make each other flee. And that's the word for to run.
Wow.
They make each other flee. That's how they say it for two people. They distinguish between actions done by one person, two people, and more than two. And there's a different word for every action. Oh yes. Yeah. And then the glottal stop here is an indefinite marker. It means somewhere, someone, someplace. So we went somewhere. And then this is again, and this one means field. You see how complicated? You see where I'm going? This is complicated. And this word changes depending on past tense, present tense, progressive, whether it's future, and whether it's conditional, and whether action is done once, more than twice, whether it's done in a series, whether it's done irregularly, and whether it's done in a series with an interval and another series. It changes. Yes, in Navajo, yes. I will talk about this on Monday. Yes. Okay? And the we here, this is we is singular, is dual, so the two of us. Right? But unlike Mohawk, there's no inclusive, exclusive distinction. So it's two people, we two. Me and you, or me and somebody else. Okay, I'm almost out of breath. Okay. But sorry. But yeah, this is okay. Any questions? I know you have a lot of questions. Oh my god, yes. When you have 3 people, we 3 of us, you will change this. You have to change the whole word because 3 people, the action done by 3 people is different from 2 people. This whole thing changes. You have to use another word, which I think is dish or something, another word.
You have dual and trio?
Yes, dual, they call it dual plural, but it's actually dual and yes. But not irregular. Some verbs have singular, dual, plural. Some have singular, dual, and plural.
Okay.
But you have to learn.
You don't have trio.
No. It's more than 2. Yeah, more than 2. And it depends on the verb. Yes. Oh, I forgot. And this is the perfective. It shows a past tense action that is completed. Yes. Any questions? I will try to. Yes. 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 Please.
Let me go to the microphone.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Almost out of
How
time,
would, how would you say 3 or 4 people were running through a field?
You would have to change. I have to rewrite it. You would have to change 3 or 4. Okay, it's the same. 3 or more. They will change this. They will keep all of this. They change this and this. Only these 2.
The question is 2 or 3?
Yes. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, 2 or 3. Okay.
Would be more difficult.
Yes, 2 or 3 difficult, but 3 and more, it's a, yeah, they will change this. So, yeah, okay. Last question before I end the slides. Any questions? Sorry, anybody else? Okay, good. Okay, so, just to show you how different they are, in Mohawk, the word ojishwa can mean a fist, a knot in a tree, a doorknob, a wall club, a hockey puck, a button, a radish, a carrot. So they use this, yes. This is actually a verb. It means it is shaped like a root, like a bulb. Anything shaped like a bulb or a root is otishwa. And then, okay, last bit. I will skip this. And just to show you something, this is Nehia Wewin. So this language has nouns in singular and plural. So it's very regular. They add a suffix, but they have different nouns. When a noun is an animate object and an inanimate object. So these are animate nouns. And interestingly enough, a stone, a pipe, a sock, and a raspberry are animate. Yes. But inanimate objects are house, knife, chair. So waska, higan, waska. And you see the plurals, they are different. And this is much more consistent than most European languages. In Cree has this, okay? And before I finish, let's go over to, this is Navajo. The word for Navajo, the word for throw, changes depending on what object you throw. Yes. So you're throwing something loose, something round, something wet. You change the whole verb. Use a completely different verb. And yes. And also the word for to give. Depending on what I give you, it's different. So whether I give a mixed objects, an object in a container, I've used a different word. Ka, ni, yin, te, de, kle, and jol, ne. They use completely different words. Yeah. Interesting. Yes. Oh yeah. So I'm going to talk about the last one. The word to see in Cree, it's a complex word. It's not like English or German. To see here word means white or bright. This word means an action with a face. So to see means to perform an action with your face in light. Because you need light in your face. That is the word to see. Okay? And they put prefixes and suffixes to show who does what to whom. This word means you see me. So they put a prefix, and this word means I see you to reverse the action. Because in Cree, only certain people can do things to other people. So you can do something to me, but I cannot do something to you. In order to do that, I must put a word here that reverses the action. So I see you is literally you see me, but in reverse. In Cree. You are seen by me. Voila. It's there, yes. But it's interesting is that it's not determined by pragmatics, it's by the person who does what to whom. Yeah. It's in a Cree. Yes. Okay? And last one, writing systems. Let me just go here very quickly. This is the Cherokee syllabary. So they represent vowels and consonants. It's not an alphabet. Actually, this is wrong. I took this from a very old site. Yes. So it's actually a syllabary. And they represent vowels, consonants, consonant, vowels. Similar to hiragana, katakana. And this is the Cree syllabary, and this is Inuktitut, this is Cree. And you can see it works like Devanagari, like Indian writing. You have one character with a consonant, a vowel, and you add a dot, or you reverse it, you add, and to show. This is the final. It's like the finals in Arabic, where the final looks different from the word, letter in the middle. So this is the final sounds. And this is the words. Okay. All right, I'm done. Any questions before last question. Oh God, yes. Okay. Just go with something.
The question is concerning
the noun classes.
Yes.
Also, Swahili, for example, has
yes.
noun classes, but
Precisely.
it's and maybe in the class for animated people,
Understood.
animated things that are not animated.
Yes.
And I used to consider them as just a grammatical issue. Do you think that in Navajo it's a more philosophical issue? I mean, the stone is real.
Yes.
It's animated not just because by chance? Or
Yes. In the Cree language, I've gone through too many languages. In Algonquian, objects that have value, that have power, that can affect you, are usually animate. The wind, a rock can fall on your head and kill you, so it's alive. Things like that. But I don't know about the raspberry, strawberry thing, but anyway. Yeah, tobacco is powerful. You'll get addicted to it, so it's alive. Yeah, something like that. Yes, you're right. There's a spiritual and perhaps a philosophical basis for some of the distinctions. Yes. Okay. Couple of questions. Anybody? Yes. Maybe 1, 2, 3, and that's I don't know. Yeah. Do we have time? Sorry.
5 minutes.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. Go on.
My question will be really easy for you.
Thank you.
How many of these indigenous languages do you speak?
Do I speak? I studied. Sorry. I was living in Vancouver as a boy. My neighbor used to speak Hankamitnam. It was one of the speakers, so I gradually learned it, and I realized I got more into Navajo because it was such a challenge to learn. And I also went to Cree. These three are the ones that I tried to learn, and I'm still improving because I will never be fluent in Navajo and Cree. Yes, because of the structure of the language itself. I'll probably go into more detail on Monday because this is it's too much. The Navajos classify actions on the shapes of objects that do them. So if you are eating, the word to eat changes depending on what you eat. So there's no word for eat. If you're eating something that's like a stick, you use one word. If you're eating something that's round, you use another word. And if you're eating something that's soft, it's another word. So and also the same with people, like for running, if it's one person running and two people running and a group of people running, it's a different word. Completely different. Yes. So exactly. Yes. So you don't have to even specify what food you eat. You said you eat, and from the word eat, I know exactly which object I ate. Yes, in Navajo. Yes. In Navajo, you say what is that? You know that thing? It's lying on the table. It is lying. That word itself will change depending on what is lying. So a pen will be another word. A box will be a different word, and a bottle of water will be a different word. So they can use, like Japanese, you can drop anything except the verb, and they know exactly what you're talking about in Navajo.
So
yes.
So next question.
Yes,
how do they deal with new vocabulary? How do they create new vocabulary?
Yes, good question. Most of them are very resistant to borrowing from English, French, and Spanish, for obvious reasons. No, I'm kidding. They use. You've seen how they form nouns with suffixes and all. Yes, that's how they do it. So like Cree uses a lot of combinations of nouns and verbs. Like the word for Milky Way is Mahigan Meskano, which means the Wolf Road, for example. In Navajo, the word for car is chide, which can either mean the thing that makes when you start energy, or the thing that squats. Because when the car was introduced, it was those 1920s, what do you call it, those Morris might, but those big, bulky cars, the thing that squats. And that's the word for car. The word for, I can't think in a moment, let me see. The word for computer, I think Ojibwe is something like uses the word to carve, but it's things that carve with light. So when you carve, you make designs with light, things like that. They create vocabulary. It's similar to what happens in Chinese, for example. It's very similar to Chinese. Navajo is very famous for this because they have almost probably less than 20 loan words that are commonly used. The rest of the language, in fact, the rest of the nouns and verbs, nouns, referring to imported things like TV, radio, are all coined from the descriptive elements of their own language. They use nouns and verbs to create. Yeah, so they can be very long. The word for tank, I think, has like 35 syllables. Yes, I can't say it, but it's the thing that rolls around with something on the back and it moves in a what do you call it? I can't think in English now. A slithering motion. That means a tank. Yes, something like that. So that's how they describe them. And also what else? I can't think about it. In Hankaminam, the word for a bank is like the house for money, for example. The Cree, the word for restaurant is the place used for eating. Or the house used for eating, for example. So that's how they describe it. So you end up with those ridiculously long words. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Yes. If you have time.
We don't have time, but only those who already raised their hand.
Okay. Those who raise. Okay. So who raised their hands? You help. Yes.
And did I forget anyone else?
I think. Yes.
No
Victor.
Yes.
Last person. Okay.
Just use without microphone.
No problem.
Okay. You showed the recursive affix in Cree.
Yes. Mohawk.
No.
Oh yeah. Okay. Inverse. Okay. Yes. Inverse marking is called.
Is there also a way to make passives?
Yes.
Yeah, so
there
is.
is.
So it's not a passive. It's
now that you mentioned, yes, it's not a passive. It's actually part of the conjugation system. It's as if the flow is normally in Cree. It's the second person does something to the first person, who does something to another person, but that person must be the person who is in the topic of the conversation. If you're not talking about him, it's like Japanese wa. You have to put it at the end, the last person, and the last object that gets affected is the inanimate object. So in order to say a stone fell on me, you have to use the reverse because I cannot, I can do something to a stone, but a stone cannot do something on me unless it's a special case. Then they put the reverse, they call it the inverse marking on the verb to show that it's reversed. Yes.
But you can also make passives.
You can also make passive. The passive is different because the passive implies that somebody unknown did something or somebody general did something to you. It was done to me. So it's someone did something to me, somebody saw me, rather than he or she. So it's not exactly. So it doesn't fit into Indo-European categories exactly. Yeah. Do you have time or do we finish it?
The one who has the microphone. Did anyone forget?
If we're done, then, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Anymore? Yes, it's a function. Yes.
Very last question.
A couple of remarks and a question. The first one is you have spoken about a word without vowels. You know, which, well, actually, there are a lot of vowels in that word.
Yes, of course.
But they are normally.
Voilà.
Yeah, that's because in our European or Asian vision, only so-called vowels can be vowels, but all sounds
can be
stops can be vowels. So
yes.
Yes. The second thing, it's very interesting, very anthropological point of view. I suppose that the Navajo culture is based on hunting.
Of course.
That's why it's very, very important in a hunting society to have very, very specific words for verbs. If not, you don't need it.
Exactly.
So it's a demonstration.
Precisely.
It's a hunting society.
Precisely, and that's all the native language. And I think the language can be related to the sound. If you make a lot of vowels, a, e, u, I think you're more audible. People hear you when you say the word for wind, sps, rather than il vento. In Italian, where all the animals can hear you, you say sps, you know. So that's sps. And the word for wind is rather than noi. Everybody does. So it makes sense for a hunting. Exactly, very good point. It makes sense. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it.
Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Hi.